friendship that'll never ever end.
Run!
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction Beanie Yo 393. Day in the neighborhood. My brothers and sisters, it is that time of the week once again, my friends, to go back to the man, to go back to the myth, to go back to the legend, MrBallen. MrBallen Sundays, y'all. Hope y'all doing excelente out there today. And I'm glad that you came on back to the channel once again to fuck with the bean. And the title of this video is This Illegal Tattoo Sealed His Fate. Now, I don't know what the hell kind of tattoo you can get to freaking seal your fate. Because seal your fate to me, just to me, y'all, it sounds like end your life. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like this dude got some type of tattoo, some kind of tattoo with some type of image or words on it that end up causing his death. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he was in some foreign country where they outlawed this word or phrase or picture or image, you know what I'm saying? And they caught him with it and he ended up dying from that shit. I don't know, man. I could be completely off base, but when we fucking with MrBallen, it could most definitely be true too. But I digress. We gonna go and check it out, y'all. As y'all can see, I'm excited as always, and we about to get into it. But before we get into it, my brothers and sisters, y'all know what y'all got to do. Get whatever you might need. Get what you need. We back to MrBallen on another Sunday. Y'all got what y'all need? Y'all ready to go? Then let's fucking go.
Today, I'm going to share 3 progressively more unbelievable stories, and at the end of each of them, I will share the photo or photos that are famously associated with them. But before we get into those stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So, if that's of interest to you, please give the like button a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle for their birthday, but before you hand it over, make sure you secretly remove one of the pieces. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's stories. Early on the evening of New Year's Eve in 2010, a 38-year-old man living in the Philippines named Ronaldo Dagsa decided he was just too tired to stay up all the way till midnight. But at the same time, Ronaldo really didn't want to miss out on all the festivities he knew would be going down out on the streets outside that night. So Ronaldo told his wife he was going to go take a nap, and could she please wake him up right before midnight, that way he could go outside and catch the tail end of the big celebration. And so his wife said that was fine, and just a couple of minutes later, Ronaldo was in his bedroom, in his bed, passed out. Ronaldo was a politician, and he was beloved in the Philippines because he was one of the very few politicians who was not afraid to arrest and prosecute gang members. In the Philippines, gang violence is a big issue, and really Ronaldo was one of very few people doing anything about it. About 10 minutes before midnight, Ronaldo's wife went into the bedroom and woke Ronaldo up. And Ronaldo, even though he was really tired, he was so excited to get to go outside that he jumped out of bed, and he made his way into the kitchen, and he grabbed his camera, and then he called for his wife, his daughter, and his mother-in-law, who were the only people still awake in his family at this point, to come with him. And so they would agree, and they would come with Ronaldo. He would go outside, and as soon as he opened the door, it was like everything he hoped it would be. There were people everywhere, all along these busy streets. There were firecrackers being shot up into the sky. People were laughing and cheering and celebrating. And so Ronaldo was really excited, and what he really wanted to do was capture a picture of his family right as the clock struck midnight, kind of commemorating New Year's Eve.
Okay, first prediction, my brothers and sisters. Ronaldo gonna get killed by one of these gang members, you know what I'm saying, that he been prosecuting or whatever, helping sent to prison and shit. He gonna get killed while he taking the picture of his family members, and a gang member finna kill this man. That's just my first crazy prediction of this video. I don't know, but let's go.
And so Ronaldo led his family to a part of the sidewalk that wasn't very crowded, and he positioned his family, so his daughter and his wife and his mother-in-law, in a position that he was happy with, and kind of made sure the picture was in frame. And then he kept checking his watch, waiting for midnight, and then right as it was about to strike midnight, he raised up his camera and he aimed it at his daughter, his wife, and his mother-in-law, and he took a picture. And here is the picture that Ronaldo took. In the foreground, you can see Ronaldo's daughter on the left leaning up against the car, and then next to her is Ronaldo's wife, and then next to Ronaldo's wife is Ronaldo's mother-in-law. And all three women are smiling as this moment in time is captured on film. But what Ronaldo also captured on film were two men who he didn't know standing right behind his family. The man on the right is not looking at Ronaldo. Instead, he's looking out to the road near them and kind of staring at the festivities. He looks concerned. And then on the left is the other man who's clearly holding a gun that is aimed directly at Ronaldo. These two men were assassins who had been sent to kill Ronaldo. And Ronaldo took a picture at the exact moment that he was assassinated. Literally, the second this photo was taken, the man on the left in this photo fired his gun and killed Ronaldo. This photograph would be used by police to track down and arrest Ronaldo's killers. Police believe that Ronaldo was targeted because he was so anti-gang, that very likely a gang hired hitmen to kill him.
I didn't know it was gonna be true, my brothers and sisters. I was about to say I was just joking, but in a way I was just joking, man. That is crazy. That's exactly what happened. I've been watching too many MrBallen stories, man. I'm starting to figure it out before it happened, like verbatim. Wow, look at that picture. Rest in peace of Ronaldo, man. That dude shooting him right now, about to shoot him and kill him, got to have, like, not a care in the world to do that. His wife, his daughter, his mama-in-law, right there taking a beautiful picture. 3 generations of women. And this man right here ended one of the most important men in their lives. Rest in peace, Ronaldo. Let's go.
Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring.
MrBallen made a commercial. But rest in peace, Ronaldo, man. That is crazy for him to do that right then and there. It's crazy that I predicted that shit like that, too. Like I said, man, we watch too many MrBallen stories over here, y'all. But, hey, he the GOAT. We love him. So let's go.
Matched with a therapist who will listen and help.
Number 2, Inkling.
On a Friday afternoon in late August of 2008, a homicide detective in Los Angeles, California, named Kevin Lloyd, grabbed a cup of coffee from the break room and then made his way to his office, and he sat down at his desk. Detective Lloyd had already had a very difficult week, but now he had all this paperwork on his desk that he basically had to go through right now. He had put it off for too long, it was the end of the week, and so today was the day. And so Detective Lloyd took one more sip of coffee and then began sifting through all the papers. Now, this paperwork that Detective Lloyd was charged with going through was really just a huge stack of biographical information about gang members in and around Los Angeles. Basically, any time a gang member got arrested for anything, could be super minor, their information was added to this big dossier of biographical information. And it was the job of the homicide detectives to periodically basically go through all of this information and just kind of make sure you're up to date with what gang members were doing in and around the city. And so this was highly monotonous work, but it was necessary. So Detective Lloyd continued to flip through all these pieces of paper, and as he did, he slammed his cup of coffee, doing his best not to fall asleep from boredom. But after about 30 minutes, Detective Lloyd turned the page, and suddenly something he saw immediately stood out to him. And for about 30 seconds, Detective Lloyd just stared at the paper, having no idea what to make of what he was seeing. And what he was seeing was basic biographical information of a small-time gang member named Anthony Garcia, who had recently been arrested for driving with a suspended license. Now, to this point, many other detectives had seen this document about Anthony Garcia, and they hadn't thought anything of it. But when Detective Lloyd looked at this page about Anthony Garcia, a photo of Anthony immediately stood out to the detective. But before Detective Lloyd was prepared to run to his boss and tell him about this huge discovery he had made, he thought, you know what, I need to do a little bit more digging because this could totally be wrong. So Detective Lloyd left the paperwork on the desk, he put his coffee down, and he walked his way out of the office and down to the room in the police department where they stored all of the files for all the unsolved murder cases. And so Detective Lloyd, he goes in there and he begins walking up and down the rows until finally he found the case that he was looking for. He grabbed it and he walked back to his desk, he sat down, and he began to read it. Now, this unsolved murder case, which was from 4 years ago in 2004, did not appear on the surface to have anything to do with Anthony Garcia.
Okay, now are we pretty sure, right, that this old murder case from 4 years ago got something to do with Anthony Garcia? But right now, my brothers and sisters, I cannot predict what it got to do with it. That image that Lloyd seen, I don't know. I was about to say something crazy. I'm not going to even say it. Let's just see.
But Detective Lloyd was reasonably sure that there were details in this unsolved murder case from 2004 that would prove his theory about Anthony Garcia. The file that Lloyd was reading described a murder that took place on January 23, 2004. That night, a 23-year-old man named John Juarez was standing in front of this liquor store called Mr. Ed's Liquors, which is located in a small neighborhood in Los Angeles. John was a devoted father to a 4-year-old girl, and he was also a devoted member of a gang. But on this particular evening, John was not doing anything criminal in front of this liquor store. He was just standing there near a street sign, kind of minding his own business. But at some point, 2 men walked up to John and asked him where he was from, but before John could even answer, one of these 2 men drew a gun and began firing shots into John, and one of those rounds struck him in the head and killed him. Now, after Lloyd had read through this file and the description of the murder several times and felt confident he had gotten all the information he could, he still wasn't sure if this was enough to prove his theory about Anthony Garcia. So he decided he would actually go to the liquor store where this murder happened and see it for himself. And so Detective Lloyd, he hopped in his car, he drove to Mr. Ed's Liquors, he parked in the parking lot, and he just looked around. He kind of scanned around the whole area. He took in the shape of the parking lot. He looked at the doors on the liquor store to kind of look at the size and the shape. He also saw the nearby street sign that John had been standing near when he was shot and killed. And so finally, after looking all around and feeling
Time out, my brothers and sisters. I done figured it out now. I have figured it out. Cause the story about the title of the video. This illegal tattoo sealed his fate. I don't know I still don't understand the context of illegal tattoo, but what I'm thinking is Garcia basically got a tattoo of what actually happened to John. Like, he got some type of tattoo somewhere on his body basically telling on himself that he is the murderer of John. Like, the full story. You know what I'm saying? I think that's right. Let's see.
he had seen all that he needed to see, Detective Lloyd felt more sure than ever that his theory about Anthony Garcia had to be correct. And so he drove his car back to the police station, he walked right into his boss's office, and he would tell him that they have been wrong about Anthony Garcia this whole time. He is not some small-time gang member, he is a big player, and he's not even trying to hide it. The photo that Lloyd saw of Anthony Garcia that really stood out to him when he was going through all that paperwork was the photo of Anthony when he was being booked into jail. And in this photo, Anthony is shirtless, and Anthony has this huge chest tattoo that you can clearly see in this photo. The tattoo shows a liquor store, and to the left of the liquor store is this military-style helicopter that's coming in and firing its gun towards the ground. And on the ground, in the line of fire from this helicopter, is what looks like this man who's got the body of a peanut. And so he's being killed by this helicopter. All the other people who saw this photo or who saw Anthony Garcia in person chalked up his tattoo to just some weird depiction of a helicopter killing a peanut guy, and they didn't think too much of it. But Detective Lloyd had actually been to the crime scene in '04 when John Juarez had been murdered, and so he had seen the layout of the crime scene, and then he's looking at this photo of Anthony Garcia's chest tattoo, and he realizes it is the same depiction of the crime scene. Anthony Garcia, his nickname was Chopper, which is often a slang term for a helicopter, and John Juarez, who was murdered in '04, he was a member of a gang called Pico Nuevo, and Anthony Garcia and the gang he was involved in, which was not Pico Nuevo, they used to make fun of people like John for being affiliated with that gang by calling them peanuts. Meaning, the helicopter in the tattoo represented Anthony Garcia, and the peanut guy was John Juarez. So this tattoo is literally like a confession that Anthony Garcia was the guy who shot and killed John Juarez. And
it took me a while to catch on to this one, my brothers and sisters, but I caught this one too, man. Basically, that is a depiction of Chopper killing a peanut. Wow, dude telling on himself with a fucking tattoo.
There were other details in this tattoo as well that made it even more clear that this really was like a confession. I mean, just the angle of the peanut guy's body, so John Juarez's body in the tattoo, was the same angle as he was found in real life. And also the decorations on the liquor store in the tattoo lined up with the decorations that were on Mr. Ed's liquor store when John Juarez was murdered in '04. So really, Anthony Garcia sealed his fate by tattooing that to his chest. Ultimately, Anthony's tattoo would be used to convict him of John Juarez's murder, and Anthony would be sentenced to 65 years to life in prison.
And then another thing, man, you just look, this dude right here gotta just be one of, and we have shit. It seems like it's a lot of goddamn of these type of people. But this dude gotta be one of the most like don't care about humans, like murderer type, just crazy motherfuckers ever, man. Like, it just amazed me. I mean, how could you murder somebody and then go get a tattoo of the actual murder? Like, to him, it's just a fucking game, or it's something like. I put it this way. This is what I'm trying to say. Long story short, story long, my brothers and sisters. It is so many people out here, and it amazes me that do not value human life. Like, it don't mean nothing to him that he killed that man. He got an illustration on it tattooed on his chest. Like, you killed another human being, bro. Do y'all understand that shit when y'all murdering people? That's what I really meant, man. Like, it's a lot of people out here that even if they do understand that, I guess long story short, story long, they just don't give a damn. They just don't care. Fucking crazy. Let's go to the last one. Number 1, Lucky Shot.
There is a very popular TV show on HBO called Curb Your Enthusiasm, and it's about the mega famous Larry David who created Seinfeld. And so Curb Your Enthusiasm is totally a satire. It's a comedy, it's about Larry David, and in fact, Larry David plays himself in the show, But Larry David in the show is a very exaggerated version of himself in real life. But the show is shot to look like it's almost biographical, but it's not. It's totally comedy. Apparently, in real life, Larry is known for getting into kind of funny, awkward situations, often that he brings on himself. And so on the show, basically every episode, Larry David finds himself getting into totally absurd situations that just get worse and worse and worse because Larry just makes all the wrong decisions. And so it's a really funny show. However, there is one particular episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm that will go down as the single episode virtually everyone who has ever watched the show will remember, and it's not because it was funny. It's because this particular episode had massive ripple effects that nobody from Larry David to writers to producers, anybody involved with this production could have predicted.
I just gotta say real quick, y'all. I have heard of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I remember like seeing like commercials advertising the show or whatever, but I never watched it. But I know what MrBallen talking about, man. Now, as far as this show goes, like some of y'all out there might already know where MrBallen go with this, but I don't know. I don't know. Let's just see how crazy it get.
The episode in question is called The Carpool Lane, and in this episode, Larry David, the character, is late to a baseball game at Dodger Stadium. And so he's stuck in traffic and he's totally upset. And then he has this idea that if he picks up this prostitute who's right outside his car, that if she gets in the car with him, he'll now have 2 passengers in the car and therefore will be eligible to use the carpool lane that nobody else was using in this traffic jam, and that would allow him to get to Dodger Stadium faster. And so he hires this prostitute and she gets in the car and Larry kind of awkwardly explains his plan, and then he hops in the carpool lane, he makes his way to Dodger Stadium, the plan works great, and when he gets there, he actually ends up bringing the prostitute with him into the game to just watch the game with him. And so he goes up, they find their seats, and their seats are just so bad, but as they're sitting there and Larry's...
Sorry about I gotta stop it again, y'all. Now, y'all might, like I said, I don't know about Curb Your Enthusiasm or whatever, but I know who that lady is. That is fucking Suge from Next Friday. Now, if you know, you know. Let's go.
Totally upset about how bad his seats are. Larry happens to see one of his friends who's also at this Dodgers game, and Larry can tell, his friend has great seats. And so the rest of the episode is basically Larry going down and trying to convince his friend to give up his seats for Larry and his prostitute to watch the game. And his friend just continuously says no. And so really that's the gist of the episode, and you can see how it kind of gets more and more ridiculous and it gets really funny, but I mean it's pretty typical writing for this show. This was not like a special show in any way. It was just kind of par for the course Curb Your Enthusiasm. That is, until a lawyer named Todd Melnick heard about it. In the fall of 2003, this lawyer, Todd Melnick, called HBO and said he needed to see the raw footage from the episode they shot called A Carpool Lane. A producer at HBO named Tim Gibbons is the one who answered this call, and his first reaction was, we can't let you see this footage because this episode hasn't even aired yet, and so you're going to have to wait the couple of months until this episode comes out if you want to see this footage. But Tim quickly noticed that Todd Melnick, the lawyer, was not about to give up this easily. He was adamant that he had to see this footage right now. And so eventually, Tim Gibbons actually would go and find Larry David, and he would ask Larry, hey, do you mind if this random lawyer comes and watches this footage from this unaired episode? And Larry was like, okay. And so the next day, Todd Melnick showed up at HBO, and he was led into this small room with a TV, and Tim, the producer he spoke to, as well as Larry David and a few other people from the Curb Your Enthusiasm production, they all filed into this room, and all of them just sat down, and then they began playing the footage, the raw footage from the Carpool Lane episode.
This dude spotted somebody in this footage of this Carpool Lane episode who is a criminal or a murderer or something. Like I'm thinking it's like a background character that was caught in this footage who then damn robbed a bank or something. I don't know, man, but y'all know what I'm saying, man. There's a criminal who was caught up in this footage, and that dude spotted it, and he taking a second look now.
And as they watched this footage, which was hours and hours and hours long, the lawyer, Todd Melnick, is watching the footage and just kind of slumping into his chair, just seeming like what he was watching was making him more and more unhappy. That clearly, he was looking for something and he was not seeing it in this footage. But finally, when one of the producers put in the 5th and final tape of raw footage from this episode, Todd Melnick, as he's sitting there watching the footage, which looks basically like Larry walking up and down the steps at Dodger Stadium over and over again, and him also walking in and out of his aisle, they reshot the scene of him sitting down inside of his crappy seats. Todd's watching this over and over again, and then suddenly he sits up and he points at the screen and goes, "Right there!" It would turn out Todd Melnick was investigating a murder case. The murder happened on May 12, 2003. A 16-year-old girl named Martha Puebla was standing in front of her house in a neighborhood in Los Angeles when she was shot by gang members because apparently a rumor had gotten out that Martha was snitching on gang members, and so she was killed. And the police actually had already made an arrest in this murder. They had arrested a guy named Juan Catalan. Juan's brother, Mario, was on trial for a different murder, and just 2 weeks before Martha's murder, Martha testified in Mario's case. And who was in the audience listening to Martha's damning testimony about Mario? Well, Mario's brother, Juan. And so prosecutors believed this was the motive for Juan to kill Martha. Also, there was an eyewitness to Martha's murder, and the sketch artist who worked with this eyewitness came up with a composite sketch of Martha's killer that looked exactly like Juan. And so now Juan was potentially facing the death penalty if he was found guilty. But Juan was adamant that he did not kill Martha, and on the night of her murder, he said he was at the Dodgers game where they were filming a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode. But nobody believed him except for his lawyer, Todd Melnick, who called HBO, got access to all that unseen footage from the episode, and after watching for hours and hours and hours, finally that 5th tape goes in, and sure enough, Todd Melnick watched as his client, Juan Catalan, strolled right into frame and sat down with his daughter. It would turn out Juan was telling the truth the whole time. He did not kill Martha, and Curb Your Enthusiasm proved it. Shortly after this discovery, Juan would be released from prison and he would receive a settlement of $320,000 from the city of Los Angeles and the police. As for Martha, the police were able to eventually track down 4 people who were involved in her murder, and all 4 would be convicted and sent to jail for life.
Oh my God, man. That is a crazy last little twist to that. He was innocent. Like, I was on the right path. I was right. I was like, it was gonna be somebody who was found, who had a murderer or something was gonna be found in that Curb Your Enthusiasm footage. But come to find out, the murderer was not the murderer. I'm so happy for that guy, man. I am so happy that he was in that footage, so he could be found innocent. Wow, hey, we don't get a lot of MrBallen stories that have a good ending, and that was very refreshing, man. And rest in peace to Martha too. Rest in peace.
There is a road in Detroit, Michigan.
That's the end, my brothers and sisters. Like I said, man, rest in peace to Martha, y'all. And I pretty much got all 3 of these stories. I was pretty much on point, you know what I'm saying, as far as trying to figure them out, man. And it was just great from MrBallen. And that last one was so refreshing. It feel good to end on a high note for a change. You know what I'm saying, man? So glad that dude ended up being free, and it was all because of the show Curb Your Enthusiasm. And like I said, man, I can remember people talking about that show. I knew it was a big deal back in the day, but I just never watched it. But I know what it is, and it's just crazy that happened, man. The first freaking story, my brothers and sisters. Let me make sure I don't want to talk about the second one before I talk about the first one. The first one was the dude killing the man with the goddamn gun as he taking a picture, shooting him as he taking a picture, like, man, and then he know that This man out with his family. Peace out. Like, that go back to what I was saying. My brothers and sisters, man. As far as the freaking second story. With the man with the damn tattoo. Like, showing that he murdered these people. Some people just don't give a fuck, bro. They don't give a fuck if they get caught or not for none of this, man. Like, they don't care. They don't value human life. And I feel like that's what I don't know about the third one, but the first and the second story pretty much sum up. Because the first dude, you killing somebody on the camera, and you know they with their family, you don't give a damn, you just shooting them dead. The second one, you going to get a damn tattoo about it, like you telling a story and you got that shit inked on your body, like you don't freaking care about human and just valuing us living and dying, you know what I'm saying? You don't care about that. Now the third one, those people that care about it either to kill Martha, man. Once again, one more time, rest in peace to Martha. But them people ain't care either, man. But I'm just so happy that one, at least the dude freaking, he living free now. He living free. He went through some stuff for a while, man. But at least on that one, he living free because he didn't do it. He didn't do it. And I hope, MrBallen said they got the right people. And I hope that was actually the right people. But I digress, my brothers and sisters. Another great MrBallen Sunday, man. I'm gonna let y'all go now. Y'all just make sure y'all come on back this week because we got a lot going on this week, man. And we got some surprises coming up very soon as far as my channel, man. I got some other stuff that I'm almost there, my brothers and sisters, as far as like putting together what I'm trying to do. And once I really put it together, it should be good. But I digress on that too. Y'all just make sure y'all hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and do all that. And I'm gonna leave you with this. Love, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah.